Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basile. Faith in our government institutions has declined in recent years to the lowest levels in history. And it's not hard to understand why. The Biden administration likely just made it worse again. The White House and the Department of Education lawyers had to have known that the odds were long that they would get the Supreme Court to uphold Mr. Biden's student loan bailout scheme. But they deliberately misrepresented the chances for success. By the millions, Americans refused to look critically at the law and fell for one of the biggest lies in American political history. Now, sure, President Obama's claims, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. They still take the cake. But Mr. Biden's deception about student loan forgiveness isn't far behind. The Obamacare lies impacted the health care and the finances of virtually every American. Now, the White House's continued use of the pandemic to justify student loan forbearance and for providing false hope to tens of millions of borrowers has now made the education debt crisis even worse. Student loan borrowers, particularly younger voters, should be reminded that they were intentionally duped by Democrats who pushed this pipe dream in 2020 and in 2022 to boost their numbers at the polls. And now they're about to do it all over again in 2024 with the White House's Plan B that may have even less of a chance for success. Republican candidates should hammer the message that loan payoffs were so transparently illegal. Even Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi said as much during their combined nearly century in Washington. People who thought that Joe Biden was going to just pay off their loans got played like a fiddle here, folks. The White House bet that low-information voters wouldn't understand things like checks and balances or appreciate the administration's losing record in the courts over its blatant abuses of power. The White House bet voters would somehow blame Republicans, but it's their own higher education cabal that's to blame for all the debt. The higher education establishment isn't providing the economic ladder that it once was. And the reasons are simple, and they're simple market principles. Most Americans, unfortunately, are still catching up to the reality. 50 years ago, a college degree was a badge of honor. It was a sign of academic achievement and gave job seekers a status that had real value. As standards dipped and college attendance grew, the value of that degree declined. All the while, faculty unions and administrators were driving up costs some 800% on average for four-year degrees, all for providing a service that yielded less value for the customer. No industry that has increased costs like the higher education racket has ever gotten away with it. But they have. Democrats have helped that. For more than 40 million Americans, they now owe a total of more than $1.6 trillion in student debt. Student debt was actually higher in 2021 than credit card debt and car loans combined. Most of the debt is associated now with federal student loans as opposed to private loans. Not surprisingly, those who never stopped paying their loans or resumed as soon as they were able during the pandemic are today far better off financially than those who were conned by the Biden White House with more promises of more free stuff. And of course, the administration didn't need to do this to people, but the leftists who run Joe Biden's teleprompter couldn't resist. While they were trumpeting supposedly record job creation numbers, they kept extending emergency loan forbearance while telling tens of millions of borrowers that their debt was just going to poof, vanish into thin air. Like Dr. Fauci, who never told people to stop smoking, exercise, diet, or get checked for heart disease during the pandemic, Joe Biden never encouraged people to start repaying their loans. Let's be fair here. Student loan forbearance began in March of 2020 and was extended twice during the Trump administration, despite the lockdowns being largely over. You see, temporary forbearance became a political maneuver during the 2020 presidential campaign, and both sides are at fault for that. But once in the White House, Democrats saw their opportunity to turn forbearance into forgiveness. This train wreck has been happening in slow motion for a long time now. President Obama's student loan takeover bought off voters with increased forbearance programs that ended up ballooning student debt more than $600 billion during his time in office. And here's the dirty little secret. They did it to help finance Obamacare on the backs of young people. Democrats helped make the problem worse so that they could lay claim to a solution. You stress millions of Americans financially and then tell them the government will rush in with other people's money to solve the problem. Face facts, millennials, Gen Zers, and some of you Gen Xers out there. For all your supposed education, you got duped again by the left. Now the ball's in your court. Make Democrats pay. pay a price, a political price, and a big one for manipulating you at the expense of your future. Government can't solve its own debt crisis. Don't be fooled again. It's not going to solve yours either.